Mark doesn't tell us, but it seems to me something provoked Jesus to ask the question of his disciples, who do people say that I am? And then to ask them, who do you say I am? But Mark doesn't tell us where Jesus was coming from when he asked his disciples the question. Could it have been that people were beginning to talk about the fact that he was doing these miraculous things, feeding the hungry, curing the sick, and all these things? What provoked Jesus to ask his disciples what people were thinking of him? We do not know. But what we do know is that he asked his disciples, who do people say I am? And his disciples were glad to point out what they have been hearing in the community. You know, this is one of those things where the vestry is hearing what the congregation is saying, the rector is waiting for them to come and tell him. What are people saying in the congregation? What are they upset about right now? Who do people say I am? John the Baptist, Elijah, one of the prophets. They say you are one of those who have been with us before. You are doing things that remind them of one who was with us before. So then Jesus says to his disciples, but who do you say I am? Now this is a different question now. It's not what people are saying. You have been with me. Who do you say I am? Peter is glad to suggest that you are the anointed one. You are the Messiah. The only problem is Peter's concept of the Messiah is not Jesus' concept of the Messiah, but Peter is saying you're the Messiah. Yes, Peter, you're right. And sooner or later, Jesus will be pointing out that, Peter, you got your mind somewhere else. We as clergy go to all these conferences and they make us do all kinds of funny things. One conference I went to some years ago, we gathered and it was time for introduction. And, you know, who are you, where are you from, say something about yourself and all these things. But this time around, they twisted thing. They pair us up in twos and they said we should introduce one another. So I had to introduce my partner and my partner had to introduce me. So they gave us a few minutes and said, sit and talk to one another and then introduce one another. Now, I suggest to you there's a different kind of listening that takes place at this time than the listening that takes place when you are introducing yourself in general. So you now have to ask your partner some questions so that they can tell you about themselves in order for you to introduce him or her to the rest of the room. What school did you go to? How many children you have? You start asking all these kind of biological questions. Tell me about yourself. Who are you? And that was an interesting experience because we were saying things about one another that we would not have said had we not been asked to do this exercise. If someone were to say to you, introduce Jesus to me, what will you say? Who do you say that I am? If you were in Walmart, you knew it was coming, but if you were in Walmart and someone said, you go to St. Stephen's Church, tell me about Jesus, what will you say? This has nothing to do with having a theological degree. Who do you say that I am? It's a question that speaks to our relationship with the one who is our Lord and our God. It's the question that is asked of us to talk about the one who has promised never to leave us nor forsake us. He is not the one we call upon when things are going bad and we dismiss when all is well. He is the one who is there when no one has time to be there. He is the one who hears the heartaches and pain. And so if someone were to ask me, if I were in Walmart, in Food Lion, or wherever the case may be, who is Jesus? My first response was, do you have a minute? Because we may be here for a long time. Because I'm not going to tell you he was born on Christmas Day, he died on Good Friday, he rose on Easter Sunday. Even Walmart and CVS know that. Wait and see. They will have all of the decoration put up when the time comes. No, when someone says, who is Jesus to you? That question can only be answered because you know you have a story to tell. Because you know where you have been, and he knows better than you do where he's brought you from. Peter was glad to say, you are the Messiah, you are the anointed one, and Jesus said, Peter, you're right. But then within the next instant, Jesus begins to teach about dying, and oh no, Peter doesn't want to have anything to do with that part of it. The Messiah talking about, he's not going to die, he's going to be powerful. And Jesus has to say, no, Peter, you got your mind set on something else. This Messiah is going to die. He's going to be handed over, he's going to be executed, and then he will rise on the third day. Peter and the rest of the disciples had no clue what Jesus was talking about. What are you talking about dying? You're not sick, nothing is wrong with you. And you're talking about dying and being executed and stuff like that. That's not about the Messiah. The Messiah is the powerful one. No, this Messiah is powerful. But it's not going to be military power. It's going to be spiritual power. To redeem the world from itself. So who do you say that I am? Who do you say that I am? For you and me, when we say Jesus is Lord, it should mean a whole lot more. It should mean that we submit to him in a way that others may not understand. Because each of us have a story to tell. Because he's been with us in the darkest night, seeing us through some of life's headaches and pains. Who do you say I am? You are my friend. The one I can talk to, and the one who does not condemn me because I've messed up again. You are my Lord, the one who forgives me even as I keep on making messes of my life. You are my Lord and my God. That's who you are. Who do you say he is? How will you introduce Jesus to someone if you were in that context I told you about, and you were the one called upon to introduce Jesus to the room? What will you say? We have to nurture our relationship with him in order to be in a position to talk about him. The only problem is we as Episcopalians feel that the Baptists and the Pentecostals know more about Jesus, so we let them run around and tell us all the things they want to say. But I can tell you this much. This Episcopalian knows the Jesus who has brought him a mighty long way through the ups and downs and the thick and thin of lives. I know him. I know him because I know where he's brought me from just in the last 3 years. He's heard the cries, but at the same time, he's received the thanksgiving for his kindness to this Episcopalian. Who do you say he is? This is not an academic exercise, This is not this head knowledge. This is the spiritual. And he knows the struggle that we go through in our relationship, he and myself. And I'm sure you too know the struggle that he goes through with you. Because there are times when you just want to give up because you just don't know how to keep on pressing on. And he says, hold on, this too shall pass. Know that I'm always going to be with you. I will be with you to the end of the age. And then I will come and receive you to myself so that where I am, there you may be also. So even when you think all is lost, all is not lost. Because I have a plan for you. But it won't always be easy. But know this much. I got my eyes on you. Who do you say I am? Who do we say he is? If he's not the one that we can call upon when things are good and when things are bad, then who is he to us? He doesn't want to be the one that would take the shopping list to. He wants to be the one that received all the thanksgiving for the shopping list we brought to him. So my brothers and sisters, who do you say he is? This is not a question being put to Peter, James, and John, and the rest of them. This is the question being put to you. Who is Jesus to you? How will you introduce Jesus to someone who asks of you, who is the Christ? May you do it in a way that is so convincing that person will want to meet the Christ that you introduced to him or to her. May we come to know him in such a way that we will go forth from this place and boldly proclaim him as the one who he is, our Lord and our God. Amen.
Amen.